Alright, let's see. Okay, we're good. Welcome to Mitch's demonstration of how to make a tortilla de papa. I've got all my ingredients here. I've got potatoes. You can't see them. I let them soak in water. That way it's you can get all the dirt out of them. Dirt seems to cling to potato skin really well for whatever reason. Not necessary, but I find it easier to keep them clean this way. I got 1 green pepper, 2 potatoes, a bit of fresh basil, don't need that much. Capers, wonderful things. And eggs. I'm probably going to use about 5 eggs for this one. We'll see how it turns out. Remember, you can only use enough eggs or not enough eggs. There's no such thing as too much egg in a tortilla de papa recipe. Oh, and garlic. Well, I'll add that part in later. I'm not going to take much garlic anyways. So, I am a lazy person. I like to make cutting vegetables easy because prepping the veggies, prepping the ingredients, that's the part of cooking I dislike the most. So, alright, I've made this circular cut around the top, of vertical cut all the way up the pepper, circular cut up here around the top. And I can pull the center of the green pepper clean out and then take all the seeds that have to come with it out of here. Yeah. Love green peppers. Hate cleaning them. It's a pain. Alright. Yeah, this one came out messy. If you do it right, you can pull the green pepper clear out, the core of it clear out of the pepper, and you don't have any seeds to deal with. Don't make a mess like I'm doing so now. But that requires a little more manual dexterity than I'm feeling right now, I guess. Alright then. Yeah, try to keep as much of this off the floor as can be managed. Alright, cutting out the very bottom because this doesn't need to go to my dish. I don't like the little black part at the bottom of the pepper. You can leave it in if you want. Okay, now, one of the great reasons that tortilla de papa is a wonderful dish to teach to aspiring chefs is because it teaches you the importance of several principles, one of which is size of your cut. You want to cut things fairly small for this recipe. A simple account of the smaller it is, the better volume to surface area ratio it has, the faster it'll cook. And cooking time is very, very important to this recipe. So, to keep it uniform among the different ingredients, which will take longer to cook, we want to make everything as small as possible. I've got these tiny little spears of green pepper, and I'm going to reduce them even further to just these little. Sometimes you will hear people calling this dicing. I don't care what it's called. I know what it looks like. That's most important. See this? Fits on my thumbnail. That's small enough for this recipe. Also note that I am using a rather small green pepper. That's what's for sale in the supermarkets here, whatever. If you're using something larger, that might fit with more potatoes, larger potatoes than I have. We'll see. Just a taste. You'll note I'm not being incredibly precise on the measurements. That's just not how I cook. Okay, so this is our green pepper. All right. Okay. Sorry, my hand is in the way. A little nifty technique about cutting. Your knife and your fingers aren't going to get along. They're no good. They're not friends. But your fingernails will get along with the knife just fine. Use your fingernails as a ruler. Press it out. You can use that to prevent your fingers getting in the way of the blade itself. and give you more control over your cut. Safety first, of course. Alright, and there, that's my pepper, that's my pepper. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this enormous amount of waste I've created here. Recycle this. I tend to have to do this and clean up everything I do in the middle of cooking before the recipe is over, because if I don't, I just end up creating an enormous mess. If you have better discipline than I, that's awesome, but I still suggest clean early, clean often. It just makes things easier. Alright. And the one ingredient I did neglect to bring out earlier is garlic. This is some serious garlic cloves. These things are like the size of my thumb. I'm not going to need one entire clove out of here. They're huge. So I'm probably going to use half a clove. There we go. See, this is an enormous clove. This is a gigantic. Bigger than I need. But that's okay. Waste not, want not. I have plenty of uses for garlic. You know what? Yeah, I'll take the whole clove and I'll chop it up. Save some for later. This is the easy way to cut garlic. Down here we got the bottom of the clove. You remove that, and the rest will go through. I just made a simple little cut, not even all the way through. I don't know how well you can see it here, but it's not even all the way through the clove of garlic. I take the bottom off, and some of the skin comes with it. And that's all I need to do. The rest of it happens by hand. Don't know how well you can see, but there we go. Alright. Okay, and voila. This all comes off by hand. Okay. This one sprouted a little bit. That's alright. Now, if you've got a garlic press, if you've got a good garlic press, count yourself lucky. Those things are worth their weight in gold. If you don't, you make do like I do. Slice this thinly. Okay. Alright, I'm going to save this half of a clove for later, because for a tortilla de papa of the size I'm making, this is plenty of garlic for my purposes. Alright, yes. The skin is sticky. You have to get off your fingers. I'm going to cut the garlic small, because we want small sizes and quick cooking times. There we go. Alright. And I'll put you aside. Now the fresh basil you don't actually have to cut. You can throw it in whole leaf. I'm just cutting it because I find it easier to handle myself. But I've done this recipe before without touching the basil, aside from peeling it off the stem. It's really up to you. If you are adding onion, one ingredient I'm not adding here to the recipe, you will definitely want to make sure that it's diced small, basically. No piece of onion should be bigger than this. Tiny little things, smaller than your fingertips. What's good for your green pepper will be good for your onion. Alright, now that I've left these potatoes to soak for a good long while, I can remove the eyes and then cube them. I don't know. For those of you who have not removed the eyes of a potato, they're kind of easy to see. They look like this. They're little seed things embedded in the skin. For those of you who have, minor tangent. Okay, sometimes if I feel like there's a chunk that's particularly dirty, or just sometimes you get these wrinkles in potatoes where dirt accumulates and it's impossible to get them out, then I just cut it out. With experience, you get a feel for how you want your own potatoes to look. This recipe is very forgiving of what you do to your potatoes. Alright, that one's good. I don't know what this is. Did this get moldy at the top? I don't know. Oh, whatever. Oh, so it did. Whoop. That's what the knife's for. Yeah, get out of my potato. Alright then. Okay, any other eyes? Alright, I'm cutting out more of this potato than I need to be. Sometimes there are eyes that are extremely small. You can leave those in if you want. Alright. Okay. Alright, that's looking good. Back to the compost bin, if you'll excuse me for a second. Alrighty then. A little pocky to keep my blood sugar up while I'm cooking. This is an optional ingredient, but I live in Japan, so hey, take advantage. Now think about this bit. There. That's for my peace of mind. Alright. As was the case with the garlic and the green peppers, and possibly your onions if you're adding it to this recipe, we want our potatoes to be small. So I'll cube this half first. It's kind of annoying how they use the verb to cube ingredients, even though the resulting shape isn't going to be a cube unless you are really good. Okay, you see here, really thin slices. And then crosswise. See that? Not much to these at all. We want them small. It's important to get your potatoes cut really small because of all the ingredients in this recipe, take the longest to cook. And long cooking times are very dangerous to your... You'll see what I get to, why I mean when I get to the point where we start actually cooking stuff. But long cooking times can screw you up. You want to keep the cooking time short. Actually reduces the risk of burning other ingredients. Makes your heating schedule a little easier to manage. So, yeah, cube the potato really small. Smaller the better. Just cut it into halves and then into quarters first before I cube it proper, because that makes my life easier. And as I've said before, I am a lazy chef. Okay. I should be following my own advice, using my fingernails to cut. Got to cut. What's this? Should I have taken you out of my... No, it's nothing. Okay, I didn't really need to cut that out of my potato, but I did so anyways. This is an awful camera angle. I'm just realizing my hand gets in the way. Okay. All right. So, I'll probably move stuff out of the way, make myself some room. I want to make an escape route accessible for this garlic because it's the first thing going in. Okay. Awesome. Okay. There we go. Okay. Yep. Watching someone else cut potatoes. Exciting work. This is why I would never join the Navy. I'm sure the whole potato cutting duty thing is just a stereotype. No wonder. Alright. So, I've got 2 potatoes here. The ratio of egg to potato I like is 2 eggs for each potato, maybe plus 1 or 2. Sometimes I'll do 3 eggs to each potato if the potatoes are big, because you want just by volume, you want about a little more egg than you have potato in the recipe. And if you look at the size of these eggs, 2 of them is actually, it's a little less volume. Maybe I'm going to add 5. Yeah, I think I'm going to use 5 eggs for this one. So yeah, 2 eggs per potato plus 1. That's actually a good formula. That'll probably do you just fine. Yeah. Alright, this came out pretty good. Now, one last thing. Before you start, check what pan you're using. Now, I know I'm using this electric pot. If you're using a frying pan on a real stove, you still want something around these dimensions. I was like, what's this? Maybe this is 20 centimeters deep, but something 10 centimeters deep really should do you just fine. And you have to be able to make sure you can put your potatoes in it. Like, cut your potatoes up. Don't even dice them up the whole way if you don't want to. Just cut them in half. Stack them in. If you can't fit your potatoes in it, you don't have a big enough dish. Use less potato. Or cook it in 2 separate dishes, whatever. Just make sure you don't put too much potato in the pan. I mean, it's the solid ingredient. It's not a liquid. It's not going to be flexible for you. Now, I've done this dish with 3 potatoes in this pan, so I already know I'm going to be fine here. But if you have to check beforehand, even after you've cooked your potatoes, throw them in, see if they fit. Throw in your dry ingredients, see if they fit, just to make sure. Alright, now we have cut everything up. You could start at this point, but I like being thorough. I like having all my ingredients in hand, so I'm going to crack my eggs before I even start eating the oil. Yeah, I'm going to go with 5 eggs for this. Because eggs make a huge mess, I'm going to bring my composting bin to me. Put those shells right where they belong. I should have done this earlier. Alright. I said that cutting up the vegetables is my least favorite part of cooking, but fishing through eggs to make sure there's no eggshell in your egg, that's pretty low on the list too. Still, it's gotta be done. Capers are my favorite ingredient in this recipe. They're strictly optional, actually. You don't have to add them, and most people I know who cook this recipe don't add capers. But they add a great flavor to the tortilla de papa. And best of all, you don't have to cook them or prepare them. You can just spoon them out of the jar and throw them in. So less prep for you. Okay. That egg yolk off my hands. Sorry about the crappy voice. Had some allergies lately. Got a sore throat. Tried to keep it as clear as I can. Alright, I'm not really going to need to throw anything else out for the time being. I'm going to need some oil. Just a second. Where's that stuff? Where did I put that oil? There we go. It was hiding on me. No. This anymore. We'll need you later. Alright. So, camera angles and the fact that I have this splatter guard up to keep getting hot oil all over my walls is going to make this kind of tricky. This is what you get when you film with your laptop instead of a real camera. But I'll show you how things go. Now, a thing about temperature. My electric grill has one setting, burn. It cooks extremely hot. Usually it's probably better to cook it at a lower temper if you're and to cook it for longer if you've got a real stovetop. But you know what? You can cook it at a high temperature. You'll do just as well as I do. Now, the heating schedule, or the important part about cooking that we learn from this recipe, is careful what order you put things in, because things cook at different times. The first thing I'm putting in is the garlic. And garlic cooks fairly quick, but I'm putting it in early to flavor the oil. If you're adding onion, now is the time to put it in, because onion will flavor your oil something lovely. It's not the only ingredients that you can use to flavor oil. But I'm not using bay leaves in this recipe or anything else. I'm just using garlic. Nope. I hear some of you don't like onions. Well, if you use it to flavor your oil, you don't have to include it in the main dish. There's no law saying that you can't just take it out later. And we will be taking these out later, actually. Now, while I'm waiting for the oil to heat, tell by the sizzling of the garlic, I'm going to scramble my eggs here. This doesn't require much in the way of instruction at all. I'm lazy enough to use the knife instead of dirtying a fork. Okay. See, they're already sizzling. They're already sizzling. I told you this grill cooked hot. I should probably get my pan, eh? What do I think? I should probably get my spatula. Alright. So, I can't show it to you on camera because this only collects audio and video. But you know that your oil has been scented when you can smell the ingredient cooking in it. Trust your nose. Alternatively, if it looks like it's kind of cooked, starting to brown a little bit on the sides, you can use that too. This is the point where I take the garlic out, because it's done what it's supposed to do, and I don't want to leave it in as it'll burn. The ingredients in a tortilla de papa cook at different speeds, so you want to set up a heating schedule. Basically, the stuff that takes longer to cook, you put it in sooner. Add the other stuff over time, so everything ends up finished and cooked properly at roughly the same time. If you put everything at the same time, by the time the potatoes are cooked, the other stuff's going to be burnt. And that's no good. You'll wreck your tortilla de papa that way. Okay, got most of the garlic out of there. A little bit left, but it's got to burn, but who cares? It's like a few particles. No one's going to notice that. In goes our first ingredient. Careful, watch out for spattering hot oil. Yeah. In with the potatoes. Okay. Let's be careful about this. I just want to put in the potatoes and nothing but the potatoes. Just the potatoes. Alright. There we go, get that all in there. Now you do want the potatoes to cook properly, because if they're undercooked, our potatoes will throw off the consistency of your tortilla de papa. And if they're burnt, it's going to suck. But seriously, given how long it takes to cook potatoes, if you burn in them, you are doing something wrong. So yeah. Okay. This is probably not going to show up on the camera, but I'm going to try to show it to you anyways. At this point, if you're using a real stove, you want to have the temperature still pretty high, because potatoes need it. So this is the start. They're going to turn glassy, and then they're going to start to brown. So not like transparent, more opaque, but they will turn a little glassy, and then they'll start to brown. Now, if you wait until they start to brown, if you're cooking at the temperature I'm cooking at, then it's going to be too late to add your other ingredients, because they will burn while your green peppers catch up. The heating schedule I follow is as follows. After you flavor the oil and you take the stuff out, potatoes, then the green peppers, then the capers and the garlic, put that back in, and the basil goes in last. The basil goes in just before you add the egg. Just keep an eye on your potatoes, mix them around. It's not a stir fry, you just want to make sure they don't get too done on one side, right? Stir it in. It's cool to cover them from time to time. Help them cook a little bit faster. It's not necessary to cover it though, not at this stage. If I remember correctly, I had when I was cooking this recipe on a real stovetop, what was I using? It was like medium heat, like 50 to 75% of the maximum setting. Maybe a little closer, let's say 60%. That was what I was cooking the potato on at this point. It's got to be fairly hot, because potato takes a while. It takes a lot of heat to cook properly. But you keep at it. Right? Now, it's cooking fairly quickly, but that's why I cut it so small. It's cut really, really small. That means everything cooks quickly. There's less of a difference in cooking times between the different ingredients. Which means less likelihood that I'm going to burn the potatoes or burn the green peppers waiting for something else. That is the sound of sizzling. I'm guessing from that sound, yum. Time to add the green peppers. Alright. Oh yeah, they're glossy. Yeah, they're not brown yet. They should be. Oh wow. Some of them are starting to brown on the edges. Oh crap. Better get the green peppers in there. Alright. If you are including onions, and you actually want to include them in the final product, onions go in after the green peppers, but before the capers. Onions cook fairly quick, and if you use them to flavor the oil, like I suggested, they're already partially cooked. So you can save them till almost near the end. You don't want them to get caramelized while your green peppers and your potatoes are still cooking. You can see that? Same deal as with the potatoes alone. You want to mix it up. You want to make sure it doesn't cook too much on one side. Not exactly a stir fry, you just keep it moving. It's not too hard. You'll know things. I still got my eggs here on hand. Can you see that? Yeah, I still got my eggs here on hand. I do not put the eggs away, nor do I put away this bowl that I have them scrambling in, until I'm positive I have enough eggs. I'll explain why in a moment, but keep the eggs on hand, because if you find out that you didn't have enough eggs, you have a very limited window of time to correct that mistake and add another egg or two and save the recipe. So don't put the eggs away yet. You hold on to those. Okay. Keep stirring these ingredients. The cue to look for next is when the potatoes and the green peppers start to brown just a little bit. Just a little bit of brown is your cue. The potatoes are almost there. There's no sign of brown on the green peppers yet, so I'll let this sit for a little bit longer. You can use the video timestamp to find out how long exactly in minutes and seconds I took, but to be honest, I find it just much easier to follow the visual cues. When the potatoes get glassy, you add the green peppers. When they start to brown a little bit, you add the capers and the garlic. You don't add the basil or any ingredient like it until just before you add the eggs. The eggs are the last ingredient to go in, and basil cooks horribly fast, and it's very easy to turn into a green slime extremely quick. So it's basically you throw it in, and then you throw your egg in right afterwards to make sure it keeps the basil and keeps the flavor. And that's the reason I didn't throw the basil in to flavor the oil, because you wouldn't get much flavor in the oil, and you'd have a bunch of green slime you couldn't use in your recipe anymore. Basil's just one of those vegetables. Fresh basil, you cook it at any high heat, it gets slimy real fast. It's not to say that you shouldn't cook basil. I mean, I love it on pizza, I love it in pastas, but this is not a recipe where you want to add it in until the very, very last moment. Alright. Okay. I should have cut this out of the potato when I started cooking. Maybe I'm just being picky. Alright, how are you browning yet? Are you brown? No. Not quite right. Again, to check if you're using a visual cue like browning, look at the biggest chunks, because if the biggest chunks have cooked, the smaller chunks definitely will have cooked. But do I see brown on that pepper? Do I see brown on that pepper? Oh, come on. When it starts to stick, then you want to make sure you smooth it around so it doesn't get stuck. Don't be afraid to add a little more oil at this stage if you think stuff's sticking to the pan. Won't kill you. Well, it depends on what oil you're using, but I'm not a health freak. You know what? That's just starting to brown. I can add the capers at this point. One little spoonful overflowing with capers. This is how much. You'll understand why I added to this recipe as soon as you smell it. It does wonderful things to the flavor. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Already smells great. Okay. Good. Good. And the potato is starting to brown properly. I'll show you what it's like when it's cooked enough, because that's when I'll add the basil and then I'll add the egg. I'm throwing the garlic back in, because it won't be long now till it's ready. And that is how you handle a good heating schedule for your tortilla de papa. Everything in the right order, with enough time given to each ingredient, because you follow the visual cues. Trust in your eyes, trust your nose, trust your ears when you hear it sizzle. I think that is a better approach than using a timer. But if using a timer works for you, awesome. All right. Ah, son of a... Ah. Don't stub your toe while cooking, it just cramps your style. Okay, how are we looking? Okay, this is looking good. Let me give you a close-up. You can see what I mean. The green pepper has changed color. It's darker. Start to brown. This outer skin sort of starts to shrivel up as it cooks. That's how you tell that's done. And your potatoes, you've been cooking them right. If you give them enough time, they'll be softer, so you can poke them with your spatula. They'll feel softer. They'll give you less resistance, which is important because eating undercooked potatoes is tough. Those things are hard. It's definitely starting to brown here. Just a little bit. It's up to you how brown you want your potatoes to be. You can do them to look like hash browns, to be honest. but they're going to cook a bit more after you add the eggs, so you don't have to go overboard. For example, if you're looking at your big chunks of potato, let me find a nice big chunk. Alright. See, it's just starting to brown a little bit. I don't even know if the camera can pick it up, but it's definitely changed color. You know, if you want, like, I can feel the resistance. If you want, you can throw it in your mouth and chew on it. If it's too tough to eat, leave it be. Let it cook a bit longer. I can tell by this point that these potatoes are good. But just a sec. This is an even better example. See that? Oh, ow, hot. That's really brown on one side. That's perfect. Get that bit of... Yeah, this is good. I'm going to add the basil in. Alright, we don't have a lot of time because the basil's going to turn slime. You just mix it up so that all the ingredients are mixed and well distributed. Already starting to smell like basil, that's my cue. In goes my 5 eggs. Alright, now, here's how you check. I'm going to give you the close-up view in a second. Take a look at that. Alright, we stir it up with our spatula. We want to make sure that we've got fairly even. We got egg covering everything. Alright, this is not distributed, so we're going to bounce it out a bit. We get some more egg over there, get some more potato over here. Mix it up. What you want, ideally, alright. Now I could add more egg to this, and it wouldn't hurt it none. In fact, I just need to shift the egg from over here. Yeah. Like this is ideal. You just want barely... You want the other ingredients to barely break through the surface of the egg. That's it. Okay, that's good. I could add another egg, but I don't have to. If you've got like chunks of potatoes sticking up out of your egg, you need to add another egg. Then you got to add it quick before it starts to set. You don't want 2 different consistencies of egg in your dish. So now you cover it and you're going to let it sit. Again, that was the point where if you realize you didn't have enough egg, you crack, scramble one, add it in quick right away. You do that if you realize there's not enough egg to hold the whole thing together. Although you'll know if there's enough once you start to stir the egg in a little bit. But I did all right. And if you move fast on it, you can salvage a tortilla de papa that doesn't have enough egg. You can save it if you're quick. That's why you keep those eggs on hand. You could have enough egg or you can have not enough egg. You can't have too much, not in this recipe. Alright then. So, if you're using a real stove, you cover it and you turn the heat down a little bit to like low mid. I don't have a real stove, but this thing actually distributes heat rather well, so I don't think it's going to burn on the bottom. I can also cheat because this surface is like super Teflon. It's like a Wall Street executive. Nothing sticks to it. So I'm not worried about it burning on the bottom. For those of you with a real stove, I hope you used enough oil. I hope you used a pan that doesn't let stuff stick to it. Yeah, so you put it on a medium heat and you just let it stay there covered until it's consistent, until you can tell that the egg on the top of the dish is completely cooked. And I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to stop this video now. I will take a timer though. I've got a stopwatch here on my phone. And for those, well, and this thing turn off. Anyways, I will take the time and you'll see exactly how long it takes to cook this. And I will show you what it looks like so you can know how it looks when it's cooked. If you have an oven, I don't have an oven, but if you have an oven, I would strongly suggest you throw this in an oven and cook it there. Again, medium heat. At the very, very end, because inevitably the part of the tortilla that touches the pan cooks more than the surface, which isn't in contact. It's a good idea to take the lid off, you put it in the oven, you broil it for no more than a minute, just to brown the top of the tortilla. You do that, it'll be perfect. It'll be excellent. It'll be amazing. But I can't do that. I'll repeat those instructions later. Anyways. What? Okay. Ah, that's strange. I don't know what, this phone glitches out on me, it does weird things. Alright. But I don't need it to be fancy, I just need it to give me a stopwatch, so. I'm checking the time. Alright, I'm gonna hold the video here. I'll show you the stopwatch when I take this thing out and you see how the finished product looks. In the meanwhile though, I'm gonna have to wash a bunch of stuff because I'm gonna need to use this spatula again and it's got uncooked egg all over it. Alright, catch ya!